There we go. Okay. And I'm kind of hot, I think. Check 1, 2, 3. Okay. We are setting up. You can go back to camera 1 while we're setting up. Oh yeah, feedback. There we go. So we're just about organized now. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to camera 2.
Cody's out of focus.
Okay, so we're gonna have to get Cody in focus here. Let's see, where are you? You're on this camera. Okay, so while we're getting prepared to go live, we're going to get Cody in focus. We're doing a training session with Sophia over on the control panel, and Dom is adjusting Cody's camera for focus. That's why he's blocking me.
Oh, sorry.
And that's all right. And that's all right. And we're only going to be live for about 15 minutes, maybe that long. And there's several topics that we want to cover, but we're probably going to focus on updating. We're going to update about your new computer system today.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so what you have is you have 4 optional cameras to select from, Sophia. You have camera 1, which is basically an overall scene. It's kind of like if there's nothing very focused on, you could just go to camera 1. It gathers the whole studio. Like right now would be perfect. Go to camera 1. See, it's kind of shows the audience everything that's going on behind the scenes. And and when you would go to an individual, it's basically if somebody takes over and starts talking to the camera, that's when you would select this camera. And I'm on camera 2. And Cody will be on camera 3. And you see that the previews that you have on there on that screen, that middle row, you have camera 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so you could and then what you're going to do, really what you could do is with your left hand, you can select which camera you want to go to. And then with your right hand, you'd hit that cut button. Yeah, there you go. Very good. Okay, and you can hear us okay, right?
Yes.
Is her mic live too?
Yeah.
There you go. Now, if you talk into that microphone.
Hello.
There you are. Okay, so you're live with us.
Oh, wait, I can't get it.
The phone's ringing, and we have everybody really occupied right now. Okay, here we go.
All right. That was some excellent vamping for time just there.
I told you
Yeah.
we're going to go live at 2. And I was like, I got everybody queued up that we're going to go live at 2. And I think we had like about 3 minutes
Yeah.
to get everything ready to go.
Which is the way to operate.
I know it.
Yeah.
I know it. That's the way to do it, live at 2. So I wanted to ask you about, it's been 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
I think we're closer to 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we set out about a month ago to build a new computer, and it was a new editor because we're taking on some projects that are pretty hefty. And the editor that we had could handle 4K, but if you had a big project, it would tax it, and
Right.
you would have to wait, and the process it was very, very tough on it.
Right.
So we decided we're going to go ahead and pull the trigger, and we're going to put together a new computer. We wanted to build it ourselves. We looked at several integrators and thought about.
Yeah, we were looking all around. We looked at some pre-builds or some custom builds, and none of them were quite right. So we wound up making the decision. Said, we said to each other, I'm comfortable building it. Are you? And it's like, yeah. I mean, so we built it ourselves. Probably saved.
Right. I guess we probably saved about $1,500.
Right.
That's what I would think with all the parts that we chose. And we've built several machines here. I think since the very beginning, we've always built our own machines, our own our own hardware and software. Put together the software. Anyway, we actually have one machine that is still in operation. That's the accounting department.
Oh,
And
really?
They're running one of the original. Do you remember the names of the original machines that we built back in 2007?
I'm sure if you tell
It may have been 2005. There was Megatron. there was
Or they were all
Sidetrack.
Transformers, right?
Yeah, they were all this, and we built 7 machines that way, and all those machines lasted quite a while. I think the thing that would fall apart is the hard drives were the first things to go. So we upgraded them all to SSDs, and then the next thing that would fail would be the graphics cards.
Right.
So we would update those. And finally, when it got to the place where software became too heavy for these machines, we decided to just, begin to retire them. And so we only have one left, and it's in the accounting department.
Yeah.
And to tell you the truth, I think we actually changed the guts out on that one. David Brown and I,
Yeah.
we rebuilt that one. So it really, we don't have any of the machines. We have the skeletons and the hardware
Right.
still here roaming around, and then we could probably boot them back up, but
Right.
we're not using them anymore.
Right. Yeah. Then there's the old editors.
Yep. Yep.
Those two in those medium-sized cases.
We built those in
2011, right?
2011.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beasts. They were really built, very well built. Hard drives were old mechanical drives, but they both had 7 drives inside of them. We built 2 machines identical so that we would have a main editor and a backup.
Right.
And we built them with server level hard drives and really good equipment.
Yeah.
But they
held
started-
in there.
They held in there.
Yeah.
I mean, we were using them up to last year.
Right. This year, even.
Yeah,
When it was still set up
Right.
out there. Yeah. And it would, you'd have to change up your workflow a little bit, which, you have to for any machine that you work with, because you're going to hit a limit, especially the bigger video gets, because, some of our cameras, I think we can do up to 6K, and, some software is already prepared for 32K, like the DaVinci Resolve software. Like, I don't even know if there's any camera available that's rendering or they're shooting in 32, but they're heading in that direction. Anyway, so if you're practical in your workflow, even like kind of old and busted, computers can hang in there.
That's because you're doing proxies. That's
Right.
what you're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so explain proxies.
If you're viewing a video on YouTube, you're looking at it, heavily compressed in a way that keeps that file size very small and keeps it transfers very quickly.
Yeah, the bitrate small so we can transfer and people can watch it live.
Exactly. And so cameras operate on a similar principle when they're recording. They'll compress it in a way that it will records 3 frames, and it references those 3 frames against each other. And so if any of them are have similar data, so it's a static shot like this one right here. Am I up? Yeah.
Right.
So all of this around me,
It's
right
not
now
moving.
It's not moving.
Right.
So it can just use that data, that same data.
Right.
It doesn't say. It doesn't keep putting that pixel into every.
Right. It
thing.
just repeats it. And the only thing that it's updating is movement.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so with the proxy workflow, for one, you can also create a smaller file. Like we don't have to edit in 4K for the bulk of the project.
That's his phone.
Yeah.
Interrupting this.
That's-
mine been
yeah.
going off too, so I'll
Yeah.
mute mine as well. But one of the things that I realized that was important is that when we record, a lot of times we record in RAW, and that's hefty files, very heavy files.
It's the color data.
Right.
Yeah.
And but these file sizes are huge. And so what you would do is take those files, bring them into an editor. Instead of working with those actual files, you would create a proxy file, which is basically a image of the file but in a smaller size.
Right. Yeah. That's one half of it, is that it is a smaller file, but also kind of working against that compression process that the camera put the video through. We're undoing that, because when you have that compressed footage, the editor software will actually be slowed down because it's trying to read just one frame at a time. And it's happened. You scrub through footage and you're waiting for Premiere or to catch up. It's because it's trying to parse all that compression data. It's trying to decode it. And so you can create a proxy file that is just those individual frames. So you can make the file smaller, but you're also in the opposite direction, making it bigger but more efficient to work with that software. So
And those proxy files, that's where you're just basically lining things up. You're cutting it. You're tweaking the video. You're selecting the scenes that you're going to use and putting them in line the way you're going to use them. You're not painting at this point.
Right. Yeah. By the time you're onto color grading, you really want to. I mean, you can get kind of in the ballpark with the proxy files, but by the time you're color grading, you're really only looking at one frame at a time anyway. But yeah, so and that's where that color data comes in. And these Lumix cameras,
So you actually after you've edited and assembled the layout of the project, added music, adjusted voiceovers, added text, all that stuff, and you're ready to color grade, do you go back to the original files or do you do it in your proxies?
Typically, I will start in the proxies, but yeah, no. When it's time to switch, when it's time to really start looking at the final product, then it's time to disable all the proxies, and they're still linked through the software, of course. So it's just flipping a switch, basically. But yeah, by the time you're to the end of the process, you need to be looking at how those original files are going to be interpreted by the renderer. So, because those compressed files, those are working in like an 8-bit color space, whereas we're recording in, what are we recording in, 12-bit?
12-bit, most of the time, 12.
Which is not just 4 more, it's like 4 times more. You know?
Yes, it's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Now, about a year ago, I take that back. 2 years ago, I bought an editor, and it was sufficient to do 4K editing, and I did a lot of projects. Good time. And then we started stepping up and doing longer form projects. Right. That's why we decided we need to move up to a more stable and a stronger editor that can handle a lot more load.
Right.
And that's why we built this. And we decided to go with a CPU. We didn't go with Intel. We went with the Ryzen 9. This one was what, the I can't remember what it was, the 98 or
5000 series.
Yes, the 5000 series. It's the 5950X.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so, was this the most expensive part in the?
No, which is kind of a change.
Well, this one was really cool because the current editor that we were working with had how many cores? 8 core.
Yeah,
it was 8 core. And so we doubled it and went to a 16 core.
Yeah, so we just like doubled the size of our pipeline basically for data transfer and processing power. Yeah.
But this was not the most. You would think that this would be the most expensive piece. Normally it is.
Yeah, 10 years ago it would have been.
Yeah.
But no, this is now the. Can we see camera?
Yeah. This one was actually hard to get because they are tied up in. A lot of different people are using them for different reasons.
Yeah.
This is our
graphics card. It's NVIDIA, what was it, 3080 Ti, yeah, which is basically for studio production and gaming too. But so that's part of the reason that there's just such a high demand is you have gamers, you have people who work in video, then you have the crypto miners, and all 3 of those people need the best graphics card they can get. And so, it was a bit of a chore finding.
We got it from Hong Kong.
Yeah, we got it. The day that we were building it. So it was the very last one that came in, the very last piece, and we knew it would be tough to find because of the market as it is.
We thought that we were going to have a problem, so we started looking for other options to buy it, and we couldn't find it. Even when we purchased this thing, the price went up like an extra $500.
Yeah, it did.
And so it was listed at one
from add to cart to checkout. That happened. Yeah.
So anyway, we got the machine going. What do you think? What about the performance? How's it doing?
It is fantastic. It is blazing fast. The one that the Asus, I think it's called they call it like an Asus Mini, which is such a crazy thing to call it. But the reason for that is because it's actually got like a cylindrical case. Yeah, right. Your machine has it, but it has an external.
Right, the power supplies are outside. They have 2 power supplies that are plugged in outside, one for the motherboard and one for the graphics card.
Right.
And so it's a cool machine, and it stays. It runs really good. It does everything I need it to do.
Yeah.
But for some of the intense projects, After Effects, color grading, we needed a machine.
Yeah, we were hitting some bottlenecks. One of those was the hard drive speed. We don't have the cases for the hard drives out here, but we got 2 M.2 NVMe hard drives. And we were actually mostly working off of an external drive, USB 3.2, USB-C.
Mechanical drive.
Yeah, yeah, which was honestly really impressive. But
These are
still,
the G drives,
Right.
G drives, and these particular ones have two mechanical drives inside of there that are just they're connected to each other.
Yeah.
and it makes for one big drive.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's impressive. Two mechanical drives, and it's been doing everything we needed to do.
Yeah.
Pretty shocking. But we upgraded to the M.2 onboard motherboard
Yeah.
drives, and they're super fast.
Yeah, software is like opening up in a blink of an eye. I can back to the processor. I'm having several really hefty programs open at the same time when I'm working on a project. I'm having to very quickly jump back and forth between design programs and video programs and everything else, and it hasn't like it's a very snappy experience. It's very nice. And so the storage plays a big part of that. But also, yeah, the new processor is and the RAM, we upgraded the RAM as well. We're 64 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, and the coolest thing, we went with the liquid cooled.
Yeah, which was a first for me. And,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's fantastic. I've got a little module that pops up or that I can pop up to check the temperature, and it's staying like
Good.
60
Good.
degrees
That's
Celsius.
really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So that's our
Yeah,
our update.
yeah. It's a beast. We're calling it the Apex editor.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rawr. So okay, well, we will continue to give updates on the editor and other equipment. We got a whole bunch of new equipment, so we're going to go through and review because we've put everything.
Yeah.
We've worked everything really hard.
Yeah, we've really had an interesting year with lighting, I think, because we've got to experiment with multiple tiers and have been pleasantly surprised in a lot of cases.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about aperture. I love the aperture system.
Yeah.
And so we'll go into it in more detail and show off some of the other gear that we have. And we're going to do that in small bites,
Yeah.
one thing at a time. So I guess that's it. We're going to wrap it up.
I think that's everything I know.
Okay, go to camera one, and then you got to wave to the audience. Bye. See you.
Good job, Sophia.
Thank you.
Bye. Now you can fade to black if you can find it.
FTB.
That's good. You did it.
Whoop, whoop.
Cool.
That was fun.
Mics are still hot. Nobody say anything.
Oh, we're still live, probably, aren't we? Yeah. Oh, there's a button to turn off. Right here, I'll show you. This